Hello, everyone, and welcome to ForcedToPod. My name is Saxon, but you can call me Sax. Joining me today, I have the man who knows no stranger nor pepper too spicy. Nick, how you doing this evening, man?
Pretty good. I can't off the top of my head think of anything to complain about, so here we
Honestly,
Shocking, frankly.
are. Right, yeah.
we're doing well. And rounding out the FTP3. I don't know how I wrote that down, but like it felt good coming out. But then I'm like that could mean something else too. So just workshop that. Let me know. We have the man who'd rather be outside than wherever he currently resides, making his triumphant return from the desert. I am the mountain man, Walker. How are you doing, man?
Well, I'd rather be outside.
That's very true. It's true.
The desert was gorgeous. Any of y'all who haven't been to Big Bend, it is incredible. I sincerely believe that it would be like one of the most like popular parks in the country. On par with Yosemite and Yellowstone and all that. If it wasn't just fuck off far in the middle of nowhere. From Houston, it was about 10 hours just to get out there. So
Yeah.
I'm glad I spent the whole week. I felt like I saw just the tiniest little sliver of all the wonderful things there were to see. It was beautiful. I love a good national park. And that was a great one. Going up, and I saw the Roadrunners absolutely everywhere. I've seen a couple here and there in Central Texas, but they're just all over the place, scooting around and looking cute. And saw my first javelinas, which are excellent. And for our viewers, they are not pigs. They are actually colored peccaries. Yeah, they're different,
And they're delicious, apparently.
I have heard the same. So
I don't think you're allowed to hunt them in a national park.
You are. There's just
it's
a pretty restricted season and stuff.
Really?
I mean, it's like nothing compared to the amount of time you're allowed to hunt feral hogs and whatnot.
Right.
But there are very limited hunting opportunities for the collared peccaries in Texas. But they're just excellent to watch because they just sort of scoot around. Just lots of great wildlife. I think I'd say the thing that struck me most is that the desert everybody thinks of as dry, and it is dry and not full of life, but that part is not true. It's just so you just have to look a little closer, but it's just so vibrant with life. All the little things scurrying around doing their little deserty business. It's really cool to take a peek at. So it was a refreshing week for me.
Did you see any snakes?
I didn't see a single snake, honestly.
Wow.
Failed trip. Not even worth it.
Surprising. I thought I would.
Really you gotta keep your head on a swivel, man. They were all around you. They saw you.
They saw you.
Didn't see.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. They can look all they want.
Yep. So I don't know if you guys have this shared experience, but Heather and I in our house, sometimes like in group chats, like when we're going to post something, we'll like bounce something back and forth off each other, especially if it's going to be kind of snarky or something like that. Be like, hey, does this pass? Whatever. We for sure do it when it's something that we're both in the chat. So you posted some pictures from the thing, and she said, hey, is this a banger or not? And she said, I just want to respond to him like, when did you get deployed? Because like you were just in the desert or whatever. I was like, that's pretty funny. And then she just didn't post it. And I was like,
that's hilarious.
I liked it.
I would have laughed.
I like to say Heather is her own biggest fan, and she makes herself laugh the hardest out of anyone. She's the funniest person she knows is really what it comes down to. So
mad props. You gotta know what you want, and you gotta be able to deliver it for yourself.
Yeah.
And for anything in life.
Yeah.
So props to her.
Yeah, I don't know if we know exactly what we want, but she definitely knows that she likes her own frame of humor, which I guess that makes going through life a lot easier. So, well, some housekeeping here. This is episode 22 of the podcast. Like we said last week, Walker and I, before the episode, we were having a conversation on whether or not this would be the episode that pushed us over or last one. But Nick and I said on the last episode that pushed us over. Regardless, we're still here. So either way, we're either super talented or stubborn or a mixture of the both. But we are here, guys. So we've made it past that top podcast thing. And if you're here, would you like and subscribe, follow, do all the things? You know where to do it. You can do it below or beside or whatever. Leave comments. It helps out. And if you'd like to join the conversation, you can join our podcast Discord, the bit.ly/ForcedToPod Discord. All one word. Join in there. We have conversations. We were talking about a little bit of sports ball this week. All kinds of movement in the NFL. I mean, Nick's just roasting the Colts, rightfully so.
Nothing good in Indianapolis.
I know. The biggest news in Indianapolis that I saw today was a picture of Anthony Richardson. It's like his agent says he's not looking for a trade, and I'm like, I don't know if that would be good or bad for us or not.
Is that good or not? Yeah.
So figuring out. But you said what was it you sent over? It was like Anthony Richardson had the lowest passer rating, and then Daniel Jones had the second lowest.
It was it said AR5 last in passer rating, and then Daniel Jones was second to last in passer rating.
I said technically an upgrade. Technically an upgrade if we get two guys. It's just funny to me that they say, hey, we're going to bring someone in to give you competition, and then it's the guy who's like barely above him. But
it's it's the literal worst competition in the league.
So have you and sorry, I know, Walker, this is extremely niche outside of the realm, but I appreciate you hanging in there with us. Nick, have you seen just like I hadn't watched Daniel Jones play very much. Like, you see lowlights from his time in the Giants and stuff. Like, I mean, he's an NFL quarterback. Like, he is a talented dude. And when he plays, like when he has these like strokes of brilliance, like he looks really good and he's very athletic. I think New York was just like a really bad fit for him, and I'm hoping that maybe Indy's more his speed. We'll see. But,
yeah, I think you could say the same thing about Richardson though, because like there was. Fair. I can't remember what game it was last season. He threw a 65-yard in the air dot for a touchdown, and everybody was like, it was falling back. It was an incredible pass, and then later in the game, like couldn't complete 10-yard checkdowns or whatever. It was
So. Well, but that's the kind of conversation. If you want to get in on it, one more time, bit.ly/ForcedToPod Discord. You guys can give your opinions on all that stuff. So a couple light topics today. Let's start with our DIY conversations because the second topic will kind of feed into, we're going to bring back the long lost segment, which was our book club that got corrupted. The file got corrupted. We couldn't use it, but it was an awesome conversation back in the day. So we're going to do that at the end. So if you're looking forward to that, or if that's all you want to hear, you can look at the timestamps. We always put timestamps below, but we're going to talk a little bit about some DIY stuff. We had some things going on in our house, and then Walker, you said you thought that'd be a good conversation to have. So I guess I'll start with some of the things we've been doing around the house and why, things we had to do. And you guys can kind of tell me, maybe some of the blunders, things that you learn, little tips and tricks, things that come to mind. But we have in our primary bathroom, like off of our bedroom, we have a walk-in shower, but the tiles for the floor are these little tiny square tiles, just like whatever. They're not the ones that come in the, like the big sheets of them that have like the backing on, you lay all of them down. Yeah. They're all individual pieces, at least from what I can tell. And so what we found was, when we moved in last April, so we're like 11 months in at this point. Over time, it seems like they didn't, I get conflicting stuff online, whether or not they should have sealed the grout in for the floor on the bathroom, or if they didn't seal it because they used the wrong grout and they thought they used the right stuff. I don't know what the situation was, but essentially what we found is over time, as we use the shower more and more and more, we would get these little like bits on our feet, like on the bottom of our feet. And we figured out that it was just like parts of the grout coming out. So I went in, we started using one of the other showers, like exclusively to let everything dry out. And then I went in and found like, oh yeah, there's big chunks of grout coming out in this certain area. So I went in with one of those, you guys know those, like, I don't know the official name for it, but it's like the paint, like scraper multi-tool thing. So they got like a hook on the side and scrape. And you can get whatever. I don't know what the official name of it is.
Scraper multi-tool thing. Yeah,
exactly. It's got a little hook.
That's what it says on the shelf on Lowe's.
It probably does.
Those hooks are so you can squeegee out your roller brush.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I had it with all my paint stuff, but I was like, that would be perfect because I could get that little hook in there and clean the grout out. Well, I did that, and then a bunch of tiles were real loose. And I was like, oh, crap. Okay.
Your grout is holding them together. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it should have mortar underneath as well, kind of holding it into place. Like I kind of assume that the grout is filling in, right? Doing that.
Right.
Well, there's a bunch of them that were loose. So I start down the path, as you do, of, okay,
idea.
this one's super loose. It's got to come out. This one next to it is real loose. And boys, I had like 15 of these tiles out until I found a perimeter of really rock solid. Like, these things were not moving. I'm like, okay. So I go in there, clean it all out, shop vac it out, scraping, using that 8-in-1 multi-tool thingy we just talked about. Took it to our little utility sink, which was a sleeper pick of this house. Like, it was one of my favorite things, just having a utility sink that I don't care. Like, I'll just rinse out what, mix the mortar that I needed for just having that is so awesome.
I mean, it
so
still
I'm going
does
in
go
there.
down your main drain though, so you gotta be careful.
Yeah. So we didn't. Anyways, we'll get into all that. That's a future issue, but end up cleaning up all the tiles, getting that done, getting the mortar, doing all that stuff, and then trying my best to match up the color of the grout, stuff like that. So, and I'm learning along the way, right? Like, I've never done any tile work and stuff, so I get it's the classic situation. You got to do 3-4 trips to home, the home store, whatever, Lowe's, Home Depot, wherever you can get to. And we got through it, got that done. Worked out pretty well. It is what it is, kind of was able to get as much of the loose grout out of there as I could, fill that in. And then so far so good. I haven't seen any more, broken grout coming out, stuff like that. So feeling a little accomplished with that. And then the other thing we were working on, and I sent you guys a picture of this. We had these built-ins that the past owners, whatever, they had put in the house, and then they're just all white, like a glossy white across it. And Heather, before we had moved in the house, she was just kind of doing her classic like Pinterest mood board thing, like where you go through and you're like, oh, I like this, whatever. And so we went through, once we moved into the house, she's like, okay, I think I'm ready to start some projects. So we're flipping through some of these things, and I just see this picture that she had of, the built-ins with just like white built-ins with a real dark like backing to it. And I was like, that's nice. So we decided at that point months ago, like, okay, we're going to do this project at some point. And then you drag your feet, and we had all the Christmas decorations up, whatever, and as it does. And so finally we just ripped the Band-Aid off. We just went and got the samples and just threw them up there. And then that's kind of what we did with when I painted this office. It's just like, once I put paint on the wall, I'm like, okay, I'm not just going to leave it there.
Keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. So started doing that. And she did 99% of the work. She took all the stuff off the shelves, brought the shelves down, prepped everything. And
she didn't paint those top ones. I guarantee that.
She did. She went
really?
in.
Did you get a little step ladder?
Yeah, because we were able to take out all of the individual shelves. They're just kind of sitting on whatever the little
thanks for ruining the short joke.
You just
Sorry.
throwing shade on Heather for no reason. It's actually like, she did a great job with the shelves.
No.
It's like, fuck you, Heather.
Just because she's short. I was saying because she's short.
Okay. Well, yeah, that makes it okay.
So so I did go back in there for
attributes.
Yeah,
certainly better.
So, so the one last thing that I'll say about the thing we were talking, I'm like my dad. I'm overly protective, whatever. And so I tell her, like, hey, I know you, and I know you're at home and you're comfortable and you're going to be in like your pajama pants, and which those pajama pants are like ones that were bought for me years ago that are way too long for you. And I'm like, hey, maybe when you're getting up on a ladder and stuff, like throw some actual shoes on or something like that. So you're not like in socks on flannel pajama pants and you're going to be like reaching up real high. Like Nick said, she's not that tall trying to do that. And you're going to just eat it, do whatever. And she's like, okay, whatever. Of course, never did. Like she's in bare feet doing whatever, hanging out. I came back to get her though, because I don't even know if we've talked about this on the podcast, but we got a new kitten like a little over a month ago, a month and a half ago. I know you guys have seen pictures of him, but little Chai, dude, he's getting big, by the way. He's big, but he wants so bad to be able to get up to where his brother can, and he cannot right now. Anyways, he just decides he's gonna straight up attack her bare foot, and just like he was like stalking her. He was just like kind of coming over, and she saw him moving, was like trying to figure out what he was doing, thought maybe there was like a little bug or a little like something he was going after. Nope, it was her. He was stalking her, and gets up and got up on the thing, and she's painting away and stuff, and all of a sudden she just feels like he's just got these little baby claws right now, so he just like got it on there and got it, and she had some red marks on it. I was like, hey. She's like, I didn't want to tell you about this because she didn't have shoes on. She told me she was going to. So, but yeah, I'll throw some pictures of what Heather did up in the Discord. That's another shameless plug if anyone wants to see the before and after for it. But yeah, proud of her. Yep. She did good work.
It looks great.
It was honestly just getting past the analysis paralysis type thing, right? Like she's like, I don't want to mess it up. I'm like, hey, we can just go get white paint and cover it back up if we hate it.
Your landlord's not going to charge you extra money if you do something wrong.
Right.
Well, so you might, but
yeah. So that was the stuff. And then, it compounds. Like we're getting really close to springtime. It's been, it was mid to high 70s today here and stuff. So we're starting to feel the itch to get into some other things. So
it was 93 here today.
Was it really?
Yes, it was.
Holy cow.
Wait, you're in Austin, right?
I am.
Less humid than Houston, correct? Okay.
Correct. Yeah. Houston
Still,
that's shockingly humid.
Well, so Reagan got off the bus today, and it was like 75, and she's like, I'm so hot. I don't feel my stomach hurts. I'm so hot. I'm like, well, we're supposed to go to Florida next weekend. And if you're going to complain this much when it's 75, then we're going to cancel it. We're not going because it's going to be hot. It's going to be hotter there.
Pull the plug on Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did she turn around after that?
No.
That's
unfortunate. She's complaining the rest of the walk home. So we're not going anywhere for spring break now.
Suppose.
What are you gonna do?
There you go. You
not go to Florida, that's for damn sure.
Yeah. So, Walker, obviously you and Chloe just moved in the new place. Just moved is a little wrong way to put it, but like you've been actively moving and doing all that. Right. What's that look like from the DIY side of things? Because I know you guys y'all like to refinish stuff and be thrifty with things. Like how's that working?
I do. I don't know if I've shown you guys. The next project I need to do is I got this sweet snail lamp. So like the light bulb is inside the shell, and the shell is made of glass.
Okay.
So it looks like it's.
Oh, so it's a literal snail shape.
Yeah, it's a snail. It's a snail shape.
I thought this was just some sort. Oh, okay, cool. I thought it was like some term, like a banker's lamp. There's a snail lamp. That's just it looks like a
snail with a glass shell. Like a frosted glass shell.
Yeah.
And the light's inside the shell, and so I need to like rewire it and get a new bulb in there and figure out a good way to hold the bulb and whatnot. But
neat.
Yeah. Lots of interesting little things to do, but I'm hesitant to do some of them. One, because we lost our porch, which I didn't think would be a huge deal. I was like, Houston, like whatever, man. I'm not sitting outside, but I no longer have anywhere to put my plants, so I'm just filling the house with plants.
Yeah.
Which I don't really mind that much, but Chloe's not the best at taking care of plants, so I gotta care for those. And then
do you think that's a learnable, or do you think that's something you're born with?
I'm not sure it's learnable, actually. I think well, I am I care very deeply about my plants.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm very attuned to the plants, I guess. And she has way bigger fish to fry. So this is not like and she doesn't like care about them in the same way I do, because I have a profound interest in the natural world, and I'm a bit weird about that. So
I feel like plants can sense the intention in which you are watering and caring for them, and if it's a begrudging like, why do we have this, like do whatever, they just don't take. They say, you know what, I'm out. Like I'm not going to be here if you don't want me here.
Hot peppers will thrive in spite of the negative things I say to them. For instance,
that's good. Probably makes them spicier, honestly.
Yeah, a ghost pepper plant I had one time was planted in just a plastic jug, essentially. And it would, if you didn't water it probably within an hour of when it actually started to need water, it would wilt. All the leaves would be fully wilted, and you dramatic bitch, just yelling at it, give it water, and 20 minutes later, it's just good, ready to go. God, come on.
That's funny.
No, that's great. My favorite plant is this Norfolk pine that I have. That I love them for some silly reason. They look so goofy to me. They're these like droopy looking pine needly guys. And they're very Seussian, I think.
Yeah, I was about to say it looks like a Grinch tree.
Yeah, and I just delight in having one. Yeah. And I fawn over that plant. I take such good care of that plant. We got it at an estate sale. It was like dying in this lady's backyard, and I popped it out and have been taking care of it ever since. But
now
that one I whisper sweet niceties to it when I'm watering it.
When I think of pines, though, like I guess I think of pine trees, I think of longevity, I think of things like that. Like what goes into something? Is there something that's vastly different for like a Norfolk pine compared to like a normal plant? I know very little about taking care of plants, but like,
they're pretty hardy. They're endemic to some of the islands in the South Pacific, I want to say. It's not like Norfolk, England or whatever. They're a tropical plant.
I got you. Okay.
They're fairly hardy, honestly. I just really like it. It's been growing slowly, and I haven't been able to give it enough light. Not having a balcony.
Yeah.
But I've been trying to do my best. I'm very excited for when I have a place that has light. But
just
I don't think there's anything particularly hard about it. But again, I'm also like beyond anal retentive about taking care of the plants. So
that's fair.
Definitly thrive with plants that you can.
But she's busy.
Yeah. I vibe better with plants that you can ignore for a while and then go, oh shoot, you need water. Those are the ones that I'm good with.
If anything, my problem would be overwatering because I'm like too attentive.
Right.
So I gotta be like really careful with the succulents and stuff that I have because I'm like trying to take care of them. So I actually do a lot better with the tropical plants that like need more water. And I have to like hold myself back from watering the desert plants too often.
Just gotta squeeze them and see if they're squishy. If they're squishy,
yeah,
they need a little water.
I'm like, you could use some water, couldn't you?
Yeah.
They're like, no, I'll die.
Just a little sip.
Drink.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah,
well, bringing it back to other than DIYing a porch off the back, which would be impressive.
Cool.
Is there anything you guys are looking to do? Because you guys purchased the place you're at, right?
Yeah, no, we own, but it's still a condo, right? So
yeah, that's fair.
I just feel there's no landlord, but there's still a whole building, and I've got so many things planned that I just don't want to do until there's a brick and mortar freestanding unit that I really feel comfortable, because there's some things that I want that I'd love to do that are honestly like fairly risky, and that I don't I just it would be irresponsible to do them in a condo, right?
That's fair.
I'd love the chance to build the little outbuilding and like wire it myself, but I'm not going to work on the electricals of a building that is not only mine.
Yeah, that's fair.
And frankly, that's not like a little outbuilding that I keep a fire extinguisher near, right? So
right,
yeah,
silly things like that, just stuff that I wish all of these projects I wish I could do. But when I brought up this topic, I was thinking about what I did with my dad and I.
Okay.
I was really thinking about my father when we were talking about DIY, because my father's not an engineer, but boy, did we take on some projects. We built a treehouse that was, frankly, I am shocked both of us lived through building this damn thing. Because we just, I don't know if I have any pictures to share with y'all, but this was serious business. We're talking 20 feet off the ground. We're talking glass windows. We're talking
Wow.
tar
Hey.
paper and shingled roof. Like this was not
Sheesh.
a slap some plywood in a
Yeah.
tree.
It wasn't a tree shed. It was a tree house.
No, this was a tree house.
Tree
Yeah.
home.
My dad was not
We
fucking
made this
around.
tree house a tree home.
Yeah. Oh my god. No, I think it's because my brother and I were just bitching at him for so long. Do we have a tree house? Do we have a tree house? It's like, fine, fuck you. We're gonna make a tree house.
Yeah, tree home.
Yeah.
I love it.
And goddamn did we do it. It was, I mean, I think he spent like every minute that he was not at work or sleeping for probably most of a year designing and building this damn thing. I mean,
Wow.
it was seriously impressive. And I don't think I really appreciated that as much as a kid. I was like, wow,
no
treehouse.
shot.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, no shot. No shot.
No,
That is a
like,
hindsight thing for sure.
It was a crazy undertaking. The thing is still holding strong a decade later when the house got sold. And I think there was an 8 and a 10-year-old kid who were in the family got the house. And so I sincerely hope they're enjoying the shit out of my dad's treehouse.
That's awesome.
But this is what brought the DIY to mind because, I mean, yeah, it was 12-year-old me and my father trying to hoist these huge boards up into the tree because we had major structural joints. None of this was to code. I mean, like this is not,
Who's the coding authority for tree homes?
Yeah, honestly, no idea. The Keebler elves, maybe, but
only in the off season when they're not baking.
Only the off season.
Yeah.
No. It was damn sturdy, and I wanted to shout out my dad for that because that was a crazy project. I mean, he accidentally sawed one of our tables into several pieces.
Was he using it as a sawhorse?
I almost died falling out of the tree once for sure. I mean, we're hoisting these 200-pound structural boards up in. Dad's hold it steady, classic yelling at the. Why can't you hold the light right? Except instead of it's a light, it's a 200-pound board I'm trying to screw into the tree.
Yeah,
that was a comedy of errors that we still somehow came out on top of.
That's awesome.
And I am sad about the condo because I can't participate in that level of tomfoolery in the shared building.
Yeah,
basically.
That's fair. You kind of bridge
anything of note to discuss on the DIY, Nick?
Well, I was trying to think of ways that you could engage in tomfoolery within your condo, but none of it's probably worthwhile. Since we bought our house, I haven't done any like cool stuff like that. I still obviously have yet to put walls in my basement, which I think.
What do you mean? You put bookshelves up?
You put the whole bookshelf.
Right? Yes. They just
Hold on. Quick side note, because I know Walker didn't. You probably didn't see it, but he put Nick held up his Taco Bell sweatshirt or whatever hoodie that he got from the 1 out of 500. Held it up in green screen, just completely
because washed me out.
It's completely green. It just was completely.
That's awesome.
So yeah, walls in the basement I think will be the cool fun project because I'll finally get to properly hang up all of my random nonsense. Awesome. But I've changed light fixtures. We put the laminate floors in on the first floor. I put the sink in when we got new countertops. That was a pain in the ass. I've installed 2 garbage disposals because one of them broke. I've installed 3 sump pumps because 2 of them broke. Done all the fun stuff. I think the only real issue I had was we installed one of those. It's got 6 bulbs. It's kind of a rectangle. Sits over the dining room table.
One of them.
Yeah, and on the ceiling in the kitchen area, the cup for the electrical was mounted on the bottom of the joist instead of on the side, which would have been a whole hell of a lot easier for me. So and they make special ones that kind of cup around the floor joists, and so it's just very low profile. So I had almost no room to work to put the mounting screws in, to feed all the wires back in and all this stuff. And so the the fixture that we bought, the cover to cover up the wires was more narrow than the opening for the hole in the ceiling. So I had to figure out something to put behind it so there wasn't just a hole looking in the ceiling. So I ended up actually getting a block off plate, which is exactly meant to cover up this hole, right? And I drilled a hole through the middle of it because it's metal. And in doing so, it got real jagged on the edges, right? So I filed it down a little bit, but it was taking forever. So I said, screw it. So I ran the wires through, mounted that up there, mounted everything on, hooked the wiring up, got it all. It took me an hour to get it all flush up there because the screws weren't lining up properly and all that stuff. So I get it all set up and I walk over to the switch and I flipped it on. It goes, it just blew sparks out and cut off the power. It flipped the breaker and I'm like, what the fuck? So I make sure the breaker's off. I get up there, take everything back down. And apparently when I had pulled the wiring through that hole I drilled, it sliced it real good and it had just grounded against the metal plate. So I had to wrap everything up with electrical tape. I took that plate off and like ground it down more and lined the inside of the hole that I drilled with electrical tape to like insulate it so it wasn't still sharp. It was I was so angry because it was like 2 hours of putting it all together and I flipped it on, just sparks. I'm like,
classic.
Yeah.
I think about moments like that. I'm like, I feel very appreciative for whoever designed the electrical code and these systems so that dipshits like us don't,
Yeah, because otherwise my house would have burned down. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's really honestly seriously impressive. What you need, Nick, is a deburring tool. And you got to get you one of those.
Oh, I've been collecting tools since then. I definitely, there were better ways to do what I did, but it was like 6th trip to Lowe's. Yeah. I'm over it. I'm drilling a hole. I used a bit that you would drill a hole in wood to drill this, and I'm like holding it. I had the piece of metal on the edge of my workbench, and I was just holding it down with my palm.
Classic.
Forcing a drill bit through it just to get the project done. Like I could have
like, why is this hole so jagged that I basically just punched through them?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I probably would have been better off shooting it just with a 5.56 or something. But you know what? It's up there and the house hasn't burned down. I learned some lessons. It's fine.
It hasn't burned down so far.
It's true.
That's fair. Yeah.
That's true. I tried to get you to burn down the house not necessarily, but just
that wasn't even.
We had to do a weird electrical thing when me, Heather, Dougie, and Erica went over to swim at Nick's house, and then I wanted him to fire up the grill one more time for another hot dog, and flip the breaker in.
Yeah, I went to plug because it's an electric pellet grill. I went to plug it into the outlet on the outside, and my finger was like in the way. And it like shocked me, right? It gave me a little ooh, and it popped. What I thought it popped the breaker, but what it did was pop a GFI in line. And the guy that I bought the house from had like a hand scribbled diagram of like which outlets are on which breaker.
Oh no!
And that one was labeled incorrectly. And I even pressed the reset on that outlet, the GFI outlet, but I didn't press it hard enough apparently, so it didn't actually reset. So Dougie and I spent an hour. He put a new receptacle in outside because I had an extra one laying around, like caulked it and everything, and just couldn't figure it out. And then he went in there and pressed that reset one more time, and it started working.
You tried turning it off and back on again.
Yeah, essentially. By that time, Sax was like, "I'm good. I don't want to."
Yeah, it's like we probably shouldn't do this. So.
These are good projects, Nick. I wish I had more ability to do them, but I'm so serious about the safety aspect. So
yeah,
I'll have to wait until it's just me.
Yeah, basically the few requirements we have for the house is like, okay, we want to be able to host people, have guests over, have a guest room for them, be able to flush that out. So that was the first thing we did, got the guest room ready in like a basic state. Like we haven't done a ton cosmetically in there, but got an extra bed, got all that stuff all set up. And then the next house requirement for like getting over here was like or getting the house was like, okay, we don't want a bunch of projects. Like that's just not what we wanted. And so that kind of lined us up. I think we've talked about this before. That kind of lined us up into like a newer house in like a retirement home type area. So that's kind of where we're at. A lot of older folks around us and stuff.
Zach says we don't want projects, but when I went over there, he takes me into the unfinished portion of the basement. He's like, I think we could add a room in here, throw up some walls. I'm like, hey, yeah, you could.
Sure, man.
So,
Yeah, whatever.
You could just use these other finished rooms that are right outside this door.
I know. Heather shows off almost all the rest of the house that's finished to the ladies, and then I take the guys directly to the unfinished part of the basement, and then we start dreaming. Like, what can we do out here?
I totally understand that, but I have this weird, like, for me psychologically, I'm like, all right, this finished portion of this basement is awesome. And then I go into that unfinished part, and it's part of me that just wants to smoke cigs and drink beers in that part of the bed. Like it's a old-timey speakeasy, like sequestered off from everything else. So like crack one of these windows and let's light up some cigars and play poker in here. You know, there's no walls, anything goes.
Bulb hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah, right.
That
It's just swinging back and forth. Yeah.
That is not what the unfinished portion of the basement is, but that's the vibe it could give off with just a little bit of work, right? Like,
I mean,
limited, honestly.
Yeah.
We could make it that way if you want.
Oh, for sure.
I got to put it to electrical code. In fact, it'd be better if you didn't.
Well, the problem is, and the reason I've not done more, in there is because there are no outlets in there. There's like, so the breakers are in there. I know.
The true spirit.
I know. So like
bunch of bare wires along the floor.
All the breakers are in there, and so I actually
cats are just chewing on them.
Dougie and Erica came to stay with us at one point, and when they did, I bought all the stuff to add an outlet, like a specific outlet for like in this certain area. And then we had another project we were working on. He actually came over for the day one raid race for Salvation's Edge. He came over so we could like LAN party it, and he could be here because their internet was having a lot of issues at the time. And so we were trying to get him set up through that, and then we had him plugged into a network jack that was in the wall. That was a small DIY project, but like that one didn't work. We were trying to get him into, so we were trying to work all that out. That took us away, and then the raid didn't go how any of us had planned because it kind of just kicked our teeth in. So then by the time that was done, the vibe was off, and I was just like, hey, I'm just going to hold on to these materials. We'll do it some other time way down the line. But yeah, if there was more power in that portion of our basement, I would for sure move and probably have already gotten a bunch of like workout equipment for that in particular. Like move the treadmill out there, get some of those mats we were talking about, Nick. You were talking about like the stable, whatever things they use, and put those down and things like that.
I have put some in my basement now.
Yeah.
I
want some.
They're so fucking heavy.
Yeah.
Very hard to move by yourself.
That's one of my least favorite things about Texas, actually, is that none of the houses in Texas like have basements. I shouldn't say none, but it's way less of a thing in Texas.
That's how it is in Florida, but for obvious reasons, where most people in Florida live near the coast and you can't dig a basement because it'll be underwater. But
you just need a big enough sump pump. That's quitter talk.
yeah. Or you can just add another story on top and use your first floor as a basement. So
I do kind of love those houses on stilts. I'm not gonna lie; they really kind of speak to me.
Yeah.
But no basements up. Well, you kind of get a basement, right? You get the little outdoor, parking area
you got
garage basement.
It's a basement porch.
Yep.
Yeah. Ah, man, you're combining two of my favorite things. That's why I love them so much.
You would really like my grandma's house. It's like split level. You go downstairs, it's a basement, but it walks out the back of the house to like the pool area, and it's a double decker porch.
Ooh, that's and then the shit right there.
Big old detached garage.
Oh my god, I would. I would like your grandma's house.
And also her address, her street number is 69.
Let's go.
Oh, good.
I mean,
what's your social security number, by the way?
Yep. Also 69.
Oh wow, that's shocking.
So they sold the last plot recently in our neighborhood, and so that house has been going up. Now the weather's breaking, whatever. Like they started it before the winter, and then paused for a little bit and do whatever. I had seen it before. I don't know if I'd seen it in person, but I definitely saw videos of it, of the workers they got the house built up, did whatever, got the windows in, and then they've been putting the brick, laying the brick around the outside.
Yep.
And I got to see the conveyor belt of human beings throwing bricks up to the scaffolding, which is one of the coolest things ever when you see
That's
people
very, very
doing
awesome.
it super efficiently. Like, I feel bad for the first dude who's trying to get the momentum going, right? Like, they pick up the bricks from a standstill, but like they're so good at what they're doing and they just repeat the process over and over again. So just like they get the rocking motion, throw it up, the guy catches it in a rocking motion, and in one fell swoop he just swings it to the next person, like lets it go, and then the stack of like 4 bricks together, they stay together because they know what they're doing, like how they're doing it.
That's
they
really
catch it and
impressive.
swing it. It's super cool. Very cool to see them do it. And they put it up really, really quickly. And the house, I mean, it looks great, doing whatever. It's just very impressive to see people who are like dead on what they should be doing. Like, these guys look like they know, like it's pretty cool what they're they're actively doing. Like, it's a very skillful work, to be able to get that. And then obviously the house looks tremendous as well. So I love the idea of like building. I mean, obviously I know they're building a house, but building something that's going to stand in the world, right? Like, even if you sell it at some point, like you could still, or if you're not the one to live in it, you could still drive past that house and be like, yeah, built that. Like, I know, everything. So it's pretty cool.
Although, you do that, and then if you build, I would love to, you build the house for yourself, but then, selling it's got to be just horrible. You do that.
Yeah. The house we're in, I don't remember why the original owner sold it. So we are the third owners of this house. The first owners built it. They sold it fairly quickly. Oh, I do remember. So they built the house here in Louisville, and then the wife's job got moved to Michigan, like
nice,
nearly immediately after they built the house. So they kept both houses. They got a house up in wherever, Detroit or wherever, because there's a big Ford factory near, kind of like near-ish to where we are. And so they tried to do both, and then they didn't want to split, like have the husband here do whatever. So I guess they followed her job, went up, and sold it. The people we ended up buying the house, they stayed in a couple years, and then when we bought the house from them, they wanted to go be near grandkids, so they were just moving and do whatever. So, doing that. But yeah, we talked about that a lot. Actually, how we ended up in this house was we had come at some point to this neighborhood and talked to the builders. Like, we went in because they probably had like 3 or 4 lots available at that point, nearing the end. And so we went and talked to them, and we said, hey, like, can we walk through some things, talk about it? And so we kind of dreamed it up, looked at it, and ran the numbers, and our taste was too, the stuff we wanted, it was just going to run the tally up like crazy. So we went away, and then finally, like when we finally got to the point where we could start looking at houses, I told Heather, I was like, hey, I think there's a house in the area. And so we came and saw this one. It's probably about 70% of what we would have built. And so I told Heather, I said, I actually like that, just because we can't be mad about the other 30% because we didn't make that choice, right? Like, we would have messed up some choices or did something we should have done some other way. And so I'm happy with what it is. And I think, to the point of what you just made, which was like selling the house, we probably won't be here forever. And so you don't have that weird attachment to it. So, but we have dreams of finding just some land somewhere and just building something up or doing whatever and like letting it be. But I don't even know where, when, how, why,
Alaska,
all the questions.
ASAP, because you should. That's my plan.
Yeah.
Actually, her algorithm's been sending her these big, nice houses out in Houston. She's like, you want to move to Texas?
No.
I was like, no, not really.
You can come say hello, but I do not recommend moving to Houston broadly.
Yeah, that's kind of what I said. If anywhere, I would rather live outside of Austin because there's a racetrack. But Yeah, no. She's trying to get me to move to
I
Texas.
mean,
I'm like,
look,
do you know
Houston,
how?
you can
First
get
of
a
all,
lot for your money in Houston. You really
yeah,
can.
seems like it. That's
And
the point.
I think there's far worse places to live, sincerely, but given the choice, I would not live in Houston. Let's just leave it at that.
What I know you'd always rather be outside than wherever you are, but where are you hoping? Like, have you guys talked about like where are you hoping that you guys end up?
I mean, honestly, I try not to. Sincerely, it's wherever she gets into
That's
a
fair.
program.
That's fair.
Like I am just my job is to make sure she has everything she needs. So
Pacific
trust me,
Northwest.
brother. I know how that goes.
Yep. So I'm trying not to put any pressure on her to be any particular place.
Do you want us to do it for you, or?
Yeah, sure. Why not? If I had my druthers, I would be in probably Wyoming or Idaho.
Oh.
Jackson Hole.
I actually did not like Jackson. It's too hoity-toity.
Yeah.
Although it's not as bad as Aspen. Aspen makes me gag. It's so just rich nonsense.
Well, where are you gonna go? Boulder. Bleh. All that hippie.
Yeah, Boulder's okay. It's Boulder. The Flatirons are really nice to hike and climb, and no, I liked like just across the border from Wyoming and Idaho. I liked a lot actually. Good stuff there. If you like being outside, otherwise not nothing. There ain't nothing, which is good for me. But
well, here in Central Indiana, we have nothing and also no outside stuff. So
that is a no for me.
We do have really big high school basketball gyms.
We got lots of large high school basketball gyms and the Indy 500.
As somebody who did not like high school and does not care for basketball, that's a double negative for me.
It's because the gyms were too small.
Yeah,
if you would have bigger gyms, you would have liked it more.
That was the reason.
Just hits different in Indiana
because there's nothing else to hit.
That is true.
Until Memorial Day weekend, when 400,000 people gather in a very small town to watch race cars go around a track for about 4 hours.
Honestly, it was a really nice call. We got married Memorial Day weekend, and it was kind of a good call because we had invited probably too many people to the wedding, and it was a nice way to like pare down who really wanted to be there. Some people did take advantage because we were on Saturday, it was on Sunday, so there were some people. I think Dougie because Dougie was in my wedding party. I think he may have rallied the next day and went. I don't think he goes very often, but I think
I absolutely would have.
Yeah, but I mean, that wasn't normal for our family. Like we don't have any racing blood, in us. So it's just one of those things where I think he got invited to go, and Dougie went all in at my wedding, and then he turned around the next day and went, if I remember correctly. So
I believe it. That sounds like Dougie.
I have a race car right here. I'm wearing an Indy 500 T-shirt.
Yes, you are.
Man, are you feeling excited, Nick?
You're on brand.
Yeah, this is just in the top of the drawer of my dresser. But yes, I am. Memorial Day weekend's always great. My dad and I have gone to, well, he's been to several more Indy 500s than I have, but we've gone together since 2016, with the exception of 2020 when they didn't run. Well, they didn't run with spectators. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good time. It's grown as we've been in the last few years. I have a buddy that I know from college who's from Indiana. He now lives out in Tucson. He's flown in for the last 3 years, I think. He'll fly in and go with us for the weekend. My buddy Mitch had just moved to Knoxville. He's planning on driving back up. It's gonna be a good time.
Very nice.
Oh yeah.
Well, boys, I think we spent enough time talking. That was more time than I thought, talking about the DIY stuff. We took a few little sidebars there. So let's wrap everything into our little book, where we use the encompassing term of book club, but this is more like the media roundup, what we've been watching, what we've been into recently. I don't have too much, but I did I did want to talk about a couple of things. So we did, Nick, you had mentioned that you guys were getting it, or you've been kind of keeping up with Severance. I think you've said that a couple of times. So we watched, Heather had never watched, but I had started it. We watched the first episode. I think it was like a week and a half ago, something like that. So it's still very intriguing doing that.
You get no answers in any of the episodes. I'm gonna watch tomorrow's episode. It's the penultimate episode of the season, and I guarantee I'm gonna be mad because nobody answered any of my questions.
Since we last spoke, I actually mainlined it. I'm up to speed now.
Did you watch last week's episode?
Yeah.
So zero answer. There was. Yeah, there were a couple of like, oh, okay, this makes sense now, but it not for the overarching. Like, I want to know what happens to this guy and this lady.
No.
Okay,
Good show.
It's a great show. It just pisses me off.
Yeah, I need to.
That's how they get you.
Yeah, I need to get in there.
It reminds me of watching Westworld back in college when that first came out. Man, they really kind of screwed up those following seasons, but that first season was.
Yeah, season 1 of Westworld was really good. Really good.
It is kind of how I felt watching Breaking Bad in real time. Once a week, you're like, son of a bitch. I got to wait another week to figure out what happens. Yeah.
There is something kind of special about that, honestly. Like, these days, we just, the show drops and you watch it and stuff. And I hate waiting, but boy, it's kind of fun to have something to look forward to, honestly.
Yeah. So actually, the 2 shows I'm watching are like that. They're being released 1 week at a time, it's Severance, and it's also, well, we can talk about it in a minute. I want Sax to be able to finish his train of thought on the show. We kind of derailed that.
That's fine. Yeah. So we were watching Severance, and then, I'll cut to you here in just a second. So then next, we watched a movie, and so this is not a recommendation for a broad audience. There is a warning that will pop up on the screen if you start it, and then you can read that warning. I don't know what it is. It's on. I don't know everything it says, but it articulates it better than I could right now. Just some graphic, potentially triggering things that happen in the movie, but it is like a mystery movie, and there's like the underlying unease, which is a movie which is a thing in the movie that if you're not watching, if you're listening, Nick just did a dramatic cut into his thing. That's why we were laughing. We're not talking about dramatic unease. That wasn't super funny to us.
Easy. Yeah.
So it's a movie called Blink Twice with Channing Tatum in there, but I believe
I have it downloaded. Yeah,
I believe Zoe Kravitz. I think she helped like either produce or direct in some capacity, things like this. There's a little bit of you can look up like the trigger warning stuff there, but it has, like I said, a mystery about it. There's this uneasiness to everything that's happening, things that just aren't making sense. And so I really, really enjoy not necessarily the content of this movie or like the subject matter, but more, I love those vibes, like watching movies and like trying to piece things together. And so Heather and I like watching, if it's just the two of us, like we'll just rattle off what we think's happening, or like, okay, that dude's sus, or, stuff like that. So really, really enjoy it. And so I did like the movie, but it's not going to be for everyone. And I think they know that, and that's why they throw up at the very beginning. They're like, "Hey, there's some potentially like triggering stuff in here. We understand portions of this movie are kind of brutal, so just a heads up on that." And then Heather and I have also been playing. So that's all really been watching. She's been watching some things, but we've been playing a game called Split Fiction, which I know some people have. Some people in our Discord server they know what this is. It's another game from Hazelight Studios, which are the makers of It Takes Two, which won Game of the Year. I think it was 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago.
Right.
And so it's the couch co-op. They're kind of the kings of couch co-op. And so they're keeping it alive. What that means is like when you're sitting on the couch together. They split your screen down the middle, or however, horizontally or vertically, and then you got 2 controllers, and people are running the game at the same time and have their own experience. That's what I mean by couch co-op for anyone who doesn't know. And so this game, the concept of this game is you are playing as two female writers, like authors, that are trying to get their stories published, and you go to a publishing, a big publisher, and through shenanigans and mishaps, you end up in this contraption that is essentially running you through the stories that you have written, and so they're helping you experience, in air quotes, experience the stories that you have written, and kind of getting a better idea of those stories creatively. Obviously, there's more going on, but I won't get too far into that. What I will say is the game is excellent. One of the writers is a sci-fi writer, and one of the writers is a like high fantasy, cool, fantastical type writer, and so you keep cutting back and forth between these worlds.
Some of the worlds are so ridiculous.
I know, they're awesome. A couple of the worlds that I would like to shout out. There is one. So they have these main through lines that you're doing, and then you will see off in the distance a bit of like a warping on the map, and then there in the middle there's just like an orb that's in there, and they've dubbed those as side stories. So essentially they're other stories that you as the author, your character or the other character has written, but maybe didn't fully flesh out the story, right? Like it doesn't have all beats and stuff, and you go in there. And there's just one story where you just play as 2 pigs. And like one of the authors and their sister just likes writing stories like in their fun. So they write them down in their little notebook, and you play as a pig. And when you hit like a trigger button, you just fart rainbows, and that helps boost you around the map.
And the other pig is like a slinky. So when you jump, it springs in the middle, and then you jump up like Slinky Dog from Toy Story.
Yeah. So just little things like that.
It's good.
Yeah, they took inspiration, like they ripped inspiration from other games, and they're kind of like lending credence to those games. Like early on, you do a dive from the rooftop into like a hay bale at the bottom, like Assassin's Creed. And then AC on Twitter, they posted and said like, this seems familiar, like wink wink. And then Hazelight said something like, heartfelt back to him and stuff, and like we're glad you enjoyed this. And we just played through this literally before starting this recording, we had just almost rage quit the game because we were playing a Metroid, like a 2D Metroid side scroller inspired level, and Heather was not having it. So you control your character horizontally and vertically with the left stick, and you aim your gun with the right stick. And so you're just doing that.
Those are hard, yeah.
It was very hard for me to do, and she had never played a game like that. And I have some experience, not a ton experience with games like that. And so it can be challenging, but there's a lot of little gems in there. And then Nick, I don't know. I know you said that did you say you and Riley have been playing?
Yeah.
You played a little bit. So I won't get into it because I don't want to spoil it. I genuinely believe like this is like an hour or 2 into the game. If you can convince one other person to play this game with you, I think that everyone should try to experience a certain level where you are on bikes, like motorcycles.
Yeah.
In the thing. There is one of the funniest things in a video game that have happened that, I mean, I was rolling, and it's not like a comedy thing. It's not like a joke that happens. It's a situation that it puts you in and the person who is playing with you. And it had me rolling. Like the way my wife was panicking trying to navigate a certain scenario. And so maybe we can talk about it at some other point, but like anyone who plays video games, you should play Split Fiction. This is an incredible game. This is an early game of the year. Nick is reaping the benefits of it as well because he picked Split Fiction in our fantasy league.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Over a 90, so.
Well, even if you don't play video games, Riley's she doesn't play. Like, the most she's played is a little bit of Forza Horizon, just driving cars around, and some Crash Bandicoot, the Insane Trilogy or whatever. It was remastered, which actually now, because we started playing that the other day too after we got done with Split Fiction, now I have my old Xbox One X hooked up in her room specifically so she can play Crash Bandicoot.
Nice.
But yeah, she's not a gamer by any means. I mean, there were several times where I had to yell at her to press right trigger or right bumper, and she's like, which one's bumper or which one's trigger? I'm like, God.
Man,
okay. Well, it also doesn't help that she does sometimes get right and left mixed up. So
yeah, that's tough. That's a tough look.
But yeah, we made it through the bike level, and I think the one right after that, we played for a couple hours. And then she was asking to play again the other day, but we've been pretty busy. So yeah, I would like to play more.
Walker, I know you've not been playing too many games, so I've kind of hyped this moment up, but I know you're going to appreciate it so much. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say this is a spoiler warning for anyone who is going to play it. Maybe skip ahead like a minute or so, but I want to explain what the funny moment was. So there's a moment where you are riding on the bike, and then the other character is on the back of the bike. So one person is navigating through this winding area. It's like a Tron-like bike, right? Like you're just flying through and stuff like that. But the other character, I don't even remember the context. Nick, you might like why you had to use a phone, like an iPhone or whatever you want to call it.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So the moment, what the moment is, Walker, is you have to. So I was driving. Okay, so I'm driving around, navigating everything, and I'm so thankful that I was, because this would not have made it as funny had it been the other way around. So I'm navigating through, I'm hitting ramps, doing whatever, staying alive. And Heather's character on her screen literally just looks like this. Just takes the phone and like just starts looking at it, okay? And so you're in like a first person now looking at a phone, and you have to take your right thumbstick and navigate your thumb in the game to do things on the phone. Like, so you have to like hold your thumb in the right area, like to do like the thumbprint, like to open it.
Oh no.
And then it's like swipe it, you're swiping the thing. And then it wants you to log into a thing. And so you have to like, I don't know everything, because like I said, I was driving, but what I do explicitly remember is it asked her if she was a human. And she had to do a captcha in the game while we're running away from a boss, and I'm flying through like ramps and all this stuff.
Funny.
She's
it's like it's a full blown grid captcha. Pick ones that contain motorcycles or whatever. The real deal.
Yeah, and
Riley
then it's
was like, bro, what is going on?
Yeah, it's like clicking, click and hold this, hold this part of the screen for this long. And I mean, Heather just, her voice like started normal and just octaves just going up, like, what is going on? I can't do it. I'm like, I understood what was happening. Like, if we peel back the game dev side of it, like it's pretty much on rails, right? Like that is a comedy moment. They've set this up. You may be able to get caught by the boss. I actually don't know if you could. Like, I feel like it's on rails for most of it, and they hype it up with the music and the environment and stuff like that. I might have been able to just like run the bike off of the map or something, and then we have to restart.
You can crash and die. Yeah,
it didn't really feel like you could in hindsight, but I understood what was happening, and so I started egging Heather on and being like, come on, go. And she's like, I'm trying, freaking out.
That's very good.
I was cackling. I was laughing so hard. I was like, I cannot believe that they gave me this experience in this game. That was so freaking funny. Like, it was awesome. So
it's easy to see why it's scoring really well.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll try to get Chloe to play with me. She's not like the biggest video game person in the world, but every once in a while.
Yeah, I don't think that matters. It's good.
It's
very puzzly. a little bit of action, couple of boss fight kind of things.
And it gives you a good reprieve in those side missions, which are nice.
Sure.
Like we did one that was like loosely like just collect the cats. Like
Sure.
these cats scattered, like go find them. So there's little puzzles for each of them, of course, but like they were pretty chill, and so they do a good job of breaking the action. So let me get through the last thing I'm doing. I'm currently reading this book here. It's called The Psychology of Money. It's good. It's pretty good. It's what it sounds like. So just talking about, it says timeless lessons on wealth, greed, and happiness. One of the highlights it was talking about was, it talked a lot about like the luck of things. Like it talked a little bit about like Bill Gates, right? Like the day and age when he was in high school. Like the only reason he interacted with and he's made his billions and created Microsoft was because he was one of the luckiest human beings to ever live, because he was, 0.0001% chance to be at the high school where a key stakeholder at the high school with foresight said, hey, we have this unallocated money in our budget. We should purchase this for the time, like an extremely high tech set of computers to have a computer lab and have a timeshare for those computers and stuff like that. And then it's talking about the aversion to risk, like, okay, we're cool with luck existing, but we also got to understand that risk exists and that kind of thing. And then one of the last things that I was listening to is kind of talking about just the concept of, I'm losing my train of thought on the last piece. Anyways, all getting into the idea of just like, hey, remember it. This was actually a snippet that I had seen online that brought me into wanting to read the book. It was talking about the concept of like when you go to the doctor, right? Or like when you are sick and you get a fever, all scientific evidence says that fever is actually going to help you get better faster. Like if you have that fever and if you put up with that fever, like can get rid of infection and do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But that doesn't matter because you're going to take the Tylenol to try to kick that fever as fast as possible because you're aversion to the pain. And so it's talking about like investing in like, if you know what the right thing is, right? Like you had the thing is like, you could, like if you are not a normal human being, you could do the right thing every time, but human beings were just wired to not do the right thing because we want the path of least resistance oftentimes and things like that. And so, I thought that was an interesting concept, interesting way to look at it. Everyone who knows me knows that I love this stuff. I eat this stuff up. So just money related stuff and learning more about it. So it's a good book. So Nick, what is the other show you're watching? And then you can get into anything else you have, and Walker will let you round us out for the night.
Yeah, there's actually two now that I think about it. But the other main one is called Common Side Effects. It's a animated series on Adult Swim, Cartoon Network. It's produced and I think directed by Mike Judge. So, King of the Hill, Beavis and Butthead, Idiocracy, what was it? Office Space. So it's essentially the premise is that it kind of stinks because it's very short form, in Adult Swim fashion, in that it's only 20-minute episodes, and they're doing them one per week. So you're not getting it's rough. You're not getting a lot of content, and it's good. It's about this character who is like, super crunchy hippie dude who's all about taking down big pharma, and we should be taking care of the earth and these plants and stuff. And he finds this, they call it the Blue Angel mushroom. And basically you take this mushroom, and any ailment, any injury, if like anything that happens, it's cured almost immediately. Like in the trailer or one of the previews that they put out before the series started, he like kills a bird and then sprinkles some mushrooms on it, and then it comes back to life, like that kind of potent. And so there are people with the DEA and this pharmaceutical company and stuff that are trying to get after him because he knows the secrets of these mushrooms or whatever. But it's a classic Mike Judge show where that like there's a lot of social commentary. It's also hilarious and a little bit serious and touching at the same time. So it's good. And then I've been rounding out my weeks. Well, it airs on Tuesday, but it's a new show on a History Channel that I was really excited to watch because it's Steven Ranella. It's called Hunting History, and it turns out essentially he's just like taking these kind of like legends or myths about history or like tall tales or whatever, and like trying to see if they can figure him out, kind of thing. Like one of the episodes is about DB Cooper. And so it's like him and one of his buddies, the guy from I think his name's Evan, the dude that is the CEO of Black Rifle Coffee. They go out into the wilderness in the Pacific Northwest and like talk about how, if somebody jumped out of a plane, this is how they could have survived or ditched their parachute or like what happened to the money. Just so it's not really substantial. You can tell it's pretty much more about Steve having a good time looking into like traveling around and looking into like these old stories that he's familiar with. But I appreciate it for that. And it's sandwiched in between two episodes of Curse of Oak Island. So if that gives you any frame of reference for like what kind of show you're dealing with, but it's good. I like Steve as he's a great host. They do some fun stuff. So, yeah. And then, I haven't been reading a lot recently, but I did just order a bunch of comic books to round out some of, they're all Power Rangers comic books, so don't get too excited, but, to like kind of round out, there's a whole half of this collection of this run from Boom Studios that I haven't purchased yet. And so we're getting to the point where like I need to catch up because they're going to stop printing them, the volumes. And so one of them I ordered, I just want to show it like, I ordered the volumes instead of the individual comics because one, it's a lot easier to do, and you get a bunch of extra artwork and stuff is cool in there. Well, I ordered this one. I'm not even familiar with the story of it yet because I haven't gotten that far in the run, but it came as a hardcover, and I thought it was gonna be paperback, and it's just got like, well, it's hard to see. It's a stupid green screen, but like the art, there's extra art in the background.
Wow.
Oh, very cool.
Different Rangers stuff. Yeah, it's great. It's, if you're a weird man child who likes Power Rangers, then it's good stuff.
Yeah,
I just thought it was neat.
That.
I also have, I don't know if I showed off that Godzilla book that I got for our Christmas gift exchange, but
I think you might have popped it up at one point. Yeah, that was
it's still pretty sweet. It's on my coffee table.
That was a great gift.
Yeah, that was a good one. Shout out Heather. Even though she's too short to paint the top of the bookshelf.
I had to bring it back in. Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
So Walker, what about you, friend?
Well, I was like I said, I caught up on Severance, which is really good, and the other one I mentioned, we were chatting about this, was a show called Masters of the Air, which I think has been out for a while, but it's another one of Tom Hanks just adoring World War II history. My man just loves World War II history, so it's in the same vein as like Band of Brothers in the Pacific. If you've watched those, it's pretty good. It's about World War II bomber crews. It's it is what it is.
Those guys were
well produced
nuts
and enjoyable. But the one that I was thinking about most is my all-time favorite movie, and I don't know if I've mentioned it on the podcast before, but I go back and watch it every once in a while. It's about an hour long. It's called Dead River Rough Cut. And I sincerely would be surprised if I hadn't, but I may not have. It's the #1 most watched movie in Maine prisons. And it's a complete jam.
Is that where you picked it up?
Yeah.
You did a stint?
Back in my time in prison. No, I had a summer camp counselor show it to me years and years ago. Actually, when I was doing, I was learning outdoor skills. So it's a little mini documentary about these two guys who are beaver trappers up on the Dead River in the 1970s.
Nice.
And it's just these two complete characters talking about their lives, and video of them hiking through the woods and thinking about life. And I sincerely recommend it to anybody because it's Yeah, it's just a really interesting film, and it makes me happy to watch. So they have I'll leave you all with this little vignette. They talk about the Canada jay, or the gray jay, is a pretty common bird in Maine, and they kind of like to hang out around people, because you have food. But they
Yeah.
talk about in the movie this, the old myth of the souls of the old woodsmen are thought to live in these birds, and so it's just this old guy feeding birds, and um, you know communing with the soul of the woodsman who's come before, which I don't know. If you know me, that vibes with me.
Yeah.
It's a good film.
To the list.
You said Dead River Rough Cut. That's the name of it?
Dead River Rough Cut.
Have to give it a watch. So
yeah, you can get it on Amazon for like $1.
Yeah, it was $2.99, I think is what it said.
That's awesome.
It is sincerely worth your time. It's like an hour long. Takes it's almost a mealtime video kind of deal.
That's great.
Meals.
That's great. Well, boys, it's been awesome. We went a little long, but good conversation tonight. So I'm trying to keep it around that hour mark, but we kept it flowing tonight. So if you're still here with us, we appreciate you. As always, remember, like, share, subscribe, comment, do all those things. We really enjoy hearing from you guys. And if you want to see, any of the pictures, get stuff up there. Life's slowing down in some ways and speeding up in other ways. But we try to throw stuff up there best we can and have some conversations there with you. So one more time, that Discord is bit.ly/ForcedToPod Discord if you'd like to join the conversation. As always, we appreciate you, and be well.